name is Laura Vandenboer, and I am your host of Healthy Living with Laura. And today we have Amanda Voisin, a osteopath here in Fergus and owner of Body Mechanik. So welcome. Thanks for being our first guest.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself and maybe what osteopathy is?
Perfect. So I just finished my 4-year course in osteopathic manual therapy in Hamilton. So I spent the last 4 years doing a lot of hands-on training, anatomy, physiology. That's what I'm really passionate about. I really like teaching people about their bodies and helping them understand that. Right. So yeah, I grew up in this community. I've been here for a long time. I'm a partner at Forge, so I have another partnership in a business here in town. So now I'm expanding to basically into another realm of helping people heal themselves and teaching them and educating them about their body in a whole different way. So this is my new venture.
Yeah, that's exciting. So how do you become an osteopath? What kind of schooling did you do and what kind of experience do you have?
So I went to school for 4 years, year round. So I went to Hamilton 1 week of every month, spent Monday to Friday there, long days, came home, and yes, I had 3 weeks, but in between courses or in between modules, but there was a ton of work involved at home prep for the next course, practice.
Lots of studying.
Tons of studying. Yeah. So I would spend 6 months in class learning things, and then I would spend 6 months in my clinical semester. So in total, for the time that I was at school, I did over 1,000 clinical hours in this free student clinic in Hamilton, treating real people of the public who maybe don't have healthcare coverage or don't have coverage for osteopathic care. And it was a great learning experience. We were shadowed by graduates of the program who were able to give us on-site feedback of kind of how we were treating and what we were doing, things to look out for. So it really set me up for success. Right. So yeah, my course was 4 years. It was down in Hamilton, and yeah, now I'm a proud member of the OOA, which is the Ontario Osteopathic Association. So yeah.
It's exciting. So even though you are fairly new to your practice, you still have a lot of experience throughout school.
Exactly. Yeah, throughout school we were practicing constantly. So half of our day in class was spent in a hands-on treatment, and then we spent a whole 6 months doing that every single year. And then while I was at home, I was responsible to keep my skills up. So there was lots of practice going on. In the first few years, it was friends and family who were very grateful at lending me their bodies so that I could practice things and test things out. And then actually in my 3rd year, I was able to start my practice and start basically charging people to treat. So I've really been treating for 2 years now. There's definitely a lot of learning that's been happening since then, but yeah, so there's been a lot of opportunity to practice.
Exciting. And so I know a lot of people kind of have heard the term osteopathy or osteopath. Can you explain a little bit about what it actually is? Because I think a lot of people don't really know.
Yeah, sure. So basically osteopathy is founded on 4 main principles. One is that the body is a unit. So we can't segregate an ankle problem from a shoulder problem because they're connected through the muscles, the fascia, the nerves, the arteries, or the veins. Somehow those 2 things are connected. And when the body is a unit, you can't take it apart into small pieces because collectively it functions as one piece. So that's the first principle. The second one is that it's self-regulating and self-healing. So when everything's in perfect working order, your body can heal itself. That's what we're designed to do. So if you get a scrape on your arm, you don't tell your body to make a scab and to do that. It just does it. So that's the second principle. The third principle is that structure determines function. So we look at the bony structure as our guide, but then all the muscles can pull on that and change that structure. So if the structure is changed, then the function changes. So imagine a tire on your car. It's a circle. If we put a square tire there, your car wouldn't run the same way. So if we look at the shoulder line and we think about that shoulder line being dropped, imagine everything on this side that's now collapsed. So if the structure's changed, the function's going to change as well. And the last thing is that rational treatment basically is based on the 3 preceding principles, so that basically you can't treat the body if you don't have those things in place. So it was founded by an American DO, and he basically figured this out. He was an MD who had lost a lot of his family members to meningitis, and typical medicine wasn't helping them. So he was trying to find another way to treat and heal the body. The really good thing about osteopathy too is that it's completely individualized. So I'm not going to treat your shoulder problem the same way I would treat someone else's, because the reason it's there is completely different. And potentially the problem causing the shoulder issue isn't the same. Yeah.
Okay, so that's really nice to know that it's an individualized treatment plan. You're not coming in and getting the same thing that somebody else is getting.
No, it's not a protocol.
Right.
So.
Okay. So what is if somebody were to book in with you, what would their first visit look like with you?
So if someone books an appointment with me, I generally send them the forms ahead of time. So I have an online system that does that. So you'll get the forms, you'll fill them out. That gives me a chance to read them first, so that when you come in, we can dig right in. So we're not kind of wasting time in that department. So people are going to come in and I'm going to have read through those. If I have questions, I'll generally call you first. If there's anything that kind of was red flagging, then it gives me the opportunity to say, hey, I've got a few more questions about this before you come into my office. So then once they get here, we walk through all those things. We talk about, a full health history. It's really important that we have a good idea of what your body's gone through. So typical things that people kind of forget to tell me are things that happened years ago. So some people are like, oh, well, I got in a car accident 20 years ago. Okay, well that matters. That's because important. Your body was put through a change that, maybe you had a surgery then that, you broke a bone, you have a surgery, and you have a plate in your arm. I need to know that. Yeah, so we go through that whole health history and make sure that there aren't any red flags, and then we do a treatment. So I like to look from head to toe, see how everything moves. So I'm going to check everywhere. Even if you're coming in for your shoulder problem, I'm going to look at your feet and your legs, and I'm going to check for movement, see how things move, and then I'm going to figure out where the problem is coming from. Generally, that's the piece that doesn't move the most. So essentially, that's what we're looking for, and then it's gentle. Most people don't think I've done anything. Most people sit here and think, oh my goodness, is this really going to do anything? Because it is very gentle, but we want the treatment to be appeasing to the body. We want the body to take that treatment on. We don't want anything to be forced. So, and then we talk about treatment plan from there.
So how long is that appointment?
So generally it's anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes.
And then follow-up appointments just as?
I book on the half hour, but it's not time dependent. So some people come in and they have a really big health bank account, and I can treat them for, 10 to 15 minutes, and that's a great treatment for them. And some people come in and they don't have a good health bank account, and a very small amount of treatment is needed to kind of make those changes. So that's where that individualized treatment comes in as well. So it's depending on what the body needs.
And I think that's nice, because there's some people are used to going to other health practitioners for every week for 6 weeks kind of thing, but it sounds like it's maybe more just based on what's actually going on. It might not be so
100%. Yeah, every person that walks into my office has a different treatment plan that goes along with them. So someone who's very healthy might need to come and see me, a couple times in the beginning, and then we might leave it open-ended, and then they come back when they need treatment. Other people that have more chronic, long-term, ongoing things happening might need to come and see me, for the first few times close together, and then maybe we space it out a little bit, see how we do, see how their body responds, and they might need more treatment before they get to that maintenance phase, and that's completely dependent on the person.
So are your services included in benefits plans or covered by benefits plans?
So because I'm in good standing with the Ontario Osteopathic Association, yes, all treatments are covered. They're on the list of approved osteopathic manual practitioners that can have benefit coverage. So if you have osteopathy coverage, or some people have like a bank of money, if osteopathy is included in that, then yes, it's covered.
Great. So how would you compare what you do to, say, other practitioners, so say a chiropractor or a physio, anything like that? How do you differ?
So I would say the main piece is that I treat the body as a whole. I look at every single piece and I make sure that everything is moving. And I'm also treating the individual as a whole. So I'm trying to teach them that what they do, an education piece of that as well, what they do 23 hours of the day really does make a difference as well. So it's important that, it's not only the treatment plan and the treatment that's happening on the table, but then how do we make sure that we're transferring that into long-term health? I'm trying to find health within your body. I'm not looking for disease or kind of looking to diagnose anything that's not within my realm and not what I'm looking for. So I think the philosophy behind it is a big piece of that.
Okay. Well, and I can attest to kind of what I've seen an osteopath once, not very often, but it really does feel like you're not doing a whole lot. So, for instance, if my shoulder is bugging me, he was down looking at my foot and ankle and kind of seeing, but it didn't really feel like much was happening. But I was so sore afterwards. Yes. I wasn't in pain. It was kind of a good pain, but is that normal?
So some people feel achy after treatment, and we've made changes with the body, so we need the body to take it on. So just like when you take your car to the mechanic and that engine light comes on, you know, they make a change and then sometimes they say, okay, go drive it and see if that engine light comes back on. Right. So that's part of that process. Yeah, some people do feel a little bit different, or for lack of a better word, they kind of feel weird. Some people say they feel more aligned or relaxed, but maybe they're looking for the words to kind of describe that. Some people get achy, but generally what I tell people is anywhere from 24 to 48 hours after treatment, exercise should stay light. Walking, biking, or swimming is really good. And really listen to your body. Like if that's how you're feeling, then you want to make sure you really drink lots of water and go for a walk. But some people feel great after treatment. That doesn't mean they get to negate the 48-hour rule or 24-hour rule of light exercise. But everybody feels a little bit different, and that's part of dosing treatment as well. So we want to make sure that, you know, the treatment that we're giving you is individualized to you, because it can be very different. People can take that on differently depending on what's in their health bank account.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And so how long would it take to see results?
So I normally tell people I like to see them for 6 treatments. Okay. So I like to see what I can do for 6 treatments to help their body. Okay. Most people feel some kind of a change. Okay. So I think this is really important piece of osteopathy, is that some people come in for back pain, or let's just say low back pain, and they think, oh, okay, the only difference is that back pain has to go. Okay. Our body just doesn't just say, oh, I'm going to fix that back pain. Right. So sometimes it depends what's in your health bank account. So if you've got a lot of money in your health bank account, if you sleep well, if you eat well, if you move a lot, that health bank account's going to have more money in it. Okay. If you don't have a lot of money in your health bank account, sometimes what has to happen is it only has enough money to clean up the little things first, so that then we can start building up how much money's in the health bank account. Okay. So sometimes it cleans up other things first, so that we can then take care of the big things, because we don't have enough money to spend on those big things at first. Okay. So generally people see a result or a change in how they're feeling in 6 treatments, and that means we're on the right track. Okay. So,
okay, great. Yeah. And so I think you're going to take us on a bit of a tour of the clinic and show us around and what your treatment rooms look like.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Sounds good. All right, welcome. So this is the clinic space. So you can come on in the door here. Perfect. And this is our little waiting area. So when you come in, you'll just wait here for your practitioner to come out and greet you to bring you into the treatment space. So this is one of the treatment rooms. So this is the extra space at the moment. So got a nice big treatment room, lots of space, and then you're going to come this way into the second treatment room. Okay, and this is my office here. So generally we do our initial intake, and then treatment happens on the table here. So we've gone through Laura's health history, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview as to what your initial appointment would look like, and kind of what the assessment looks like and what I'm looking for. So I'm going to have Laura stand up first. She's going to face this way. It's important that people don't have their shoes on, so that we can look at how they're standing without any footwear on. So what I'm looking for is whether her shoulders are level, if her hips are level, where her elbows are at, if she's turned one way or rotated another. So as I put my hands on her shoulders, I can see that this right shoulder is declinated a little bit. And then as I bring my hands on her hips, her pelvis matches that a little bit. So this right pelvis, this right innominate is just declinated slightly. Okay, and then it's important that we go through movement, because sometimes even though things look like that visually, movement is what matters. So how does it move? So it's important that we check that. So tuck your chin, Laura, and you're just going to round forward for me, like you're going to touch your toes. Good, so we're checking how that moves. Come back up. Okay. Awesome. All right, and then I'm gonna have Laura sit down for me. Just slide back until your knees touch the table. Are your feet on the floor?
No.
No? Okay. So then when I come over here and looking at her shoulders, they're a little bit more level now. So that tells me that maybe I need to start looking or investigating at her lower body a little bit more. So she's gonna tuck her chin and roll forward again for me. So now we're testing that true spine, what that looks like without her legs involved. And come back up. Good. Stick your chin out, chest out, belly out. So lift everything up and round your back. Yeah, that's great. Perfect. Come back. Awesome. Sit nice and slouchy for me, kind of relaxed. Perfect. So we want to make sure that we're testing everything. So looking at her shoulders, how they move. Okay, so that right one likes to lift off a little bit more than her left. Turn your head to the right, head to the left. Good. And come back. And then you're going to give yourself a hug. Good. And then what I'm going to get you to do is turn your shoulders to the right for me. Good. Come back. And then shoulders to the left. Great. And then hands down. Awesome. And then you can sit a little bit more slouchy for me. There you go. So then I'm just going down and checking to see how everything moves when I'm putting it through. Passive range of motion. So where her muscles aren't turning on to do the work for her, because sometimes they're really good at masking the problem, because that's what our body's designed to do, is to compensate and make things easy. Perfect. So just based on that little short assessment, I would say things I would want to look at for you are this right hip down here, that one that was declinated a little bit.
Okay.
Could be coming from the elevated left hip, but we would want to look at your pelvis.
Okay.
And make sure that we can level that so that everything's sitting straight. And then I'd come up and I'd look at this shoulder. Okay. Have you had any previous injuries with either of those things?
No real injuries, but this left shoulder does give me a hard time. So kind of in the back, where the shoulder blade is. Yeah, so it'd be important to figure out if that was coming from the back here or if that's being pulled then forward and down. So if this pelvis, or this innominate, I should say, is dropped a little bit, is that then pulling the shoulder down and across, and that's why you're feeling it in your back? Okay. So that would be kind of where my line of thinking is coming from. Okay. So yeah, that's why it's important to treat the whole body and assess everything. And obviously we would make sure that then we'd check that in all positions. So we're going to check that when you're laying on your back, and when you're in a seated position. It's important because we're looking at your spine as it is, and not with the influence of anything coming from the floor up. Okay. So it's important to check in all different places so we can really hone in on where the problem is coming from, and make sure that we're treating the root cause as opposed to all the things that are maybe masking that root cause. Okay. And so I assume then if I were to come back for a secondary or a third treatment, then you would kind of check that every time that... Yeah, we're going to make sure we do a whole global assessment every time to make sure if there's been any changes that we see, if anything cleaned itself up. So generally speaking, there's a change from the first treatment to the second. So what has changed? Because if those things change, that's generally not the problem. Okay. That's not what's causing the problem. And sometimes it's just like the layers of an onion. You kind of have to peel things away to be able to find that root cause. So that's another reason I think it's important. And I've talked about giving about 6 treatments to letting us see some good change, because if I give you one treatment, generally things get better, but then what people report is after the first treatment, well, things got better and this stayed, but this didn't. Like this came back. Oh, okay, so great. So we're on the right track, but now we need to dig a little bit deeper, and we can't do that without time and space. So even though we've removed those obstructions, so let's say we get that shoulder moving a little bit better, so we've taken that obstruction away. Blood flow can now go there and take care of everything. But that physiological process that's happening in your body takes time. That doesn't happen overnight. So when we restore blood flow, then nutrients gets there, and now we have to take away the waste and make sure that that healing process can have its time to do its job, because without that time, it just isn't going to happen. Okay. And so it's not necessarily, you're not just looking at, say, back pain or a shoulder issue, or like, is there anything that's kind of more internal that you can look at, like say gut health, or if somebody's having liver issues, anything like that, if they've been seeing their doctor and they're having some more internal issues? Yeah. So I'm always going to treat the structure. So, but yes, I do think that the structure can influence how your whole body is feeling. So there are lots of patients that I come in that have been diagnosed with
different diseases, internal headaches, vertigo, those kinds of things. And I'm not looking to treat that specifically. I'm looking to make sure your body can do the job that it's supposed to, so that it can heal itself. So for example, if you're not eliminating waste well, so if your bowel movements aren't regulated, you're not excreting waste.
Right.
So if you're not excreting waste well, you're probably not taking in good nutrients, because your body probably can't do anything with it because you're not excreting waste well. It's either going too fast through the system or it's going too slow through the system. So what can we do to influence the system then to make sure that it's regulating its function the way that it's supposed to be? Because then your body has the power to heal all the other things that are going on, whether it be digestive issues, or headaches, or regulation of bowel movements. So it's not that we're treating a specific disease, it's I'm looking at the body, treating it as a whole, and making sure that it does the job that it's supposed to do. It regulates the function and you do all the work. So that's where that time comes in, is you have to go away sometimes and test that out and see what's working and see what isn't, so that then when you come back, you can report back and say, okay, this is still here, this got better. Yeah, but I think that's a common misconception as well, is that people think, oh, I'm just here for the sports injury, or I'm just here for the sore muscle or the low back pain. But generally speaking, when you go through people's health history and you ask them the detailed questions, there's a lot more going on, that, you know, people don't think that, oh, hey, that got better, or, you know, oh, I'm going to the bathroom more, or, you know, when I eat food, I'm not getting stomach cramping anymore. Those are all things that kind of play into your body doing what it's supposed to do.
And that they maybe didn't think of before until it's actually moving and working properly. Oh, that's so great. I think that'll help a lot of people kind of see more hands-on what you do. And all right, well, thank you for the tour. And so one more question that I have is, if somebody has a short-term injury, so if they say they separated their shoulder, is that still something that they could come in and see you for, or does it have to be more like chronic, more long-term pain?
Perfect. That's a great question. I think that's often something that people don't necessarily realize about osteopathy. So to put that out there, I don't treat any specific medical diagnoses. I'm looking at your body as a whole and trying to figure out what's, you know, maybe obstructed. So if there's an obstruction to the nerve, the artery, the veins, or the lymphatic system, it's gonna hinder healing. So it's gonna set you back in that healing process. So the example you gave of a separated shoulder, I'm not necessarily gonna go in there and you know, I'm not trying to treat a separated shoulder as it's been diagnosed by your MD. But I'm looking at your body and maybe where blood has changed. So where is the blood flow not going? And how can we make sure that it's going to the shoulder to help make sure that the blood flow can get there, to help with the healing, that the drainage from that shoulder can then drain properly. So where are the obstructions around that area, and how is the rest of your body working to help promote the healing in that area? So lots of people don't think of osteopathy in that way, but that's kind of how I view the body. So I'm going to make sure that all the nerves that come to the muscles that go to your shoulder, they come from your neck. So I want to make sure that your neck is moving. I want to make sure that the drainage through the front is moving, because that's where the blood goes, is to your lungs, where your lungs move, and that's where the exchange of gas happens. So we need to look at the more of what's happening all over to make sure that that shoulder is going to heal, and there's nothing else in the way of that healing.
I think that's so neat, because sometimes people are just told, throw some ice on it, maybe put it in a sling, whereas you're looking at everything and how the body can actually speed up the healing process. So you can kind of get people back moving again a little bit quicker, hopefully. Exactly.
And I think one of the pieces that people forget too is, if you've injured yourself and you've hurt your body, there is a very significant maybe amount of time that you need to heal. And like we were talking about with the health bank account, you need to give your body time and space to do that. So if you and I separated our shoulders, you might have a very different healing time than me, depending on how much money is in that health bank account. Generally, there's a, let's just say 6 to 8 week window is kind of what's been told. Some people, that looks more like 12. So we need to really make sure that as treatment is progressing, we want to know where you're at every time you walk in here. So what you come in with one time. So the first time it might be, you know, that you're kind of hunched over and now you're trying to protect that shoulder. So we need to take that pattern out, let's just say. But the next time you come in, it might look completely different. We need to be okay with that, which is why we have a specific assessment that we go through every single time to make sure that we're treating the body as a whole as the way that it walks in the door. So
Oh, that's so great. Okay. So how long does it take to get an appointment with you?
So right now I can generally get people in the same week.
Okay.
My hours change based on the day. So generally Mondays and Thursdays I start at 7 a.m.
Okay.
And then Tuesdays and Wednesdays I'm here a little bit later in the evening.
Okay.
So I treat till about 6:30. Yeah, both nights, which is really nice.
Okay.
So there's lots of opportunity to get in before and after work, and then daytime appointments as well. So I pride myself on trying to get everybody an option for an appointment in the same week.
Okay. Oh, that's great. So then that's perfect for those short-term kind of.
For sure, yeah. And I also try and leave appointments during the day so that when someone can like leave one or two, so that when someone calls me and says, hey, I've done this, I can get you in and treat you when you need treatment. Okay. So you're not waiting weeks on end to get in, because at that point we have to then start unraveling some of those patterns that have come up. So I want to treat you when you need to be treated. So yeah, I try and leave lots of time and get you in as soon as possible.
That's awesome. Okay, that's good to know. And I know you've got some new exciting stuff that you're doing with the new graduate program. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I'm currently back in school doing a graduate diploma in animal osteopathy.
Okay.
So all the same things that we've just talked about, I'm now applying that to animals. So horses, cats, dogs. So I'll be in school for the next 6 months. And it's the same kind of format that we were talking about before. I'm in school for 5 days, for 4.5 days. And then I'm back at home studying and practicing and making sure that I'm keeping my skills up on animals. And then I will graduate in, I think it'll be the end of October. It'll be the graduation date. And yeah, I'll have my certificate to be able to apply everything, all the great things we've just been talking about to your pets and your animals. Exciting. Yeah.
So I might have to book my dog in.
Yeah.
Are you taking appointments for pets yet, or not quite yet?
Not quite yet. Okay. So I'm definitely looking for animals to practice palpating with. So I have lots of friends that have animals. I don't have a cat or a dog myself at this point. I have in the past, but not at the moment. So yeah, I'm out this weekend. I'm actually going to a barn to spend a day, a couple different places the afternoon, just palpating different horses and looking at how they move, and so spending the day there, and then I'm back in school next weekend to make sure that I'm back in that module and learning all about the anatomy and the physiology and kind of how animals move. So I'm not accepting appointments yet, but yeah, eventually.
That's so exciting. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming to visit us.
You're
if
welcome.
Somebody wants to book an appointment with you, how do they do that?
Perfect. So great question. They can call me. So my phone number is 519-594-1554. So that's one of the easiest ways to get a hold of me. And if I'm with clients, I might not be able to answer the phone right away. So please leave a message. And then you can also send me an email. So it's voisin@bodymechanic.ca. And I do have a website, and there's a contact form on the website. So it's www.bodymechanic.ca.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. So if you are a healthcare professional looking to be on our show, can you send me an email at alignpodorthics@gmail.com. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.